This week, we start gaining a basic understanding of programming in Python. You'll notice, starting on page 23 in your course textbook, that Python code begins to appear. You don't need to be an expert coder, as the Jython Environment for Students, or JES, will help you with your coding and compiling. You'll notice in this chapter we have practice exercises we will complete in JES to help you be successful in completing your homework and projects. Additional videos and/or screenshots will be provided for some of the exercises provided throughout the course related to any homeworks or projects. You are welcome to practice with the other exercises at your leisure on your own time. Do not follow these instructions provided here related to downloading Jython Environment for Students. I have provided you with specific instructions within this week's info page for how you should download JES. For our purposes, it is important to focus on the specific pieces of our code. The code must be understandable in order to compile without errors. Naming our components is important to reaching our goals. For example, if we want to print a word, we use strings, not integers. You'll notice on page 30 on your course textbook, within the section Naming Values, how we signify the differences in types. We understand items as numbers or words, but computers only see bits. So we must define our types to help our computer understand what we're talking about. Certain functions require information inside the parentheses, such as here with variables 90, but others do not require anything within them, and they are empty. File names are important to identifying what a file is. Different file extensions are interpreted differently. They also open differently within programs. For example, a .doc or .docx file will only open in Microsoft Word. A WAV file, however, can open in different programs, Windows Media Player, VLC, etc. Executing a program's code is known as compiling. JES will do this for us. This shows an outdated version of JES. A screenshot of the current version is provided to you on Canvas within this week's info page. The window layout view has also been updated and changed. Generally, it is best to only have JES open and your textbook next to you when completing tasks for this course based on the requirements and a lot of memory being taken up by the JES program. Python requires less codes for us to use within what we need to compile in order to complete our tasks. For example, print is much easier to use than printout. Understanding how types work and must be spelled is important to compiling correctly. Otherwise, we may receive errors. Sample code for Chapter 2's exercises are provided here. Notice there is no space in the print of hello and Mark due to no space in the quotes. Defining variables helps the computer complete tasks. Keep in mind, if you do size equals 12.5 and then size equals 34, size will be 34. The computer will interpret size as the most recent entry, overwriting the first entry. Another important aspect to defining variables is the computer's interpretation. So as the screen says in this slide, if you're only using integers, print 1 divided by 2 will only give you 0 because you do not have it defined as a float with decimal points. The correct answer here is 3. Print 4 modulus 3 provides us with a remainder equal to 1. It gives us the remainder of what 3 into 4 is, which we get 1, 3 into 4, with 1 as our remainder. JES instructions for its editor provided here on this slide. This is why we use JES, so you don't have to inherit classes like you would in Java. Everything is downloaded with the information I provided to you on Canvas included in the JES editor. Follow along through slide 40 with examples from the course textbook. JES provides options here for you when you're file picking. Another example of possible functions used with pictures. More functions associated with sound. Here is how you would decide or code picking a file and showing that file picture. Here is further explanation of picking a file, showing a file, etc. Again, more on picking and showing a file. Note the picture you chose shows up when showing your file. This is the example the textbook provides. For grabbing media from the web, I would suggest using the rowan.edu website to find an image. def means you're defining a function, i.e. what it is and how it will be used. Formatting matters, even when we're using JES for our coding. Loading is another word for how JES compiles our code. Here is an example of how you may work your JES code. Here is an example of picking a file and sound and playing that right within the JES environment. Here is a similar example, this time using a picture and showing a picture you find within the JES environment. JES is used because you don't need to know how to code. You type in the information, it helps you out along the way. Here is another example of defining a sound, finding it in a file, and then playing it. Additionally, the same for using the file. Python is not like the web. It does not understand slashes, so it uses R instead. You'll see another example here where it prefers you use R instead of a slash in the file name. You'll notice here further examples of picking files and showing them. When compiling, errors may exist. This is what can possibly go wrong when utilizing general programming. Jython environment for students will help you along the way when there are any issues that may come up. Practice the exercises within this chapter to gain clarity on how they work to best complete your homeworks and projects throughout the course. And that is all that we have to cover within Chapter 2, where we introduce how we use the Jython environment for students.